By the end of 1914, something strange had happened. The war had stopped moving. Armies could no longer advance forward. They could not break through enemy lines.
They could not go home. They were trapped between both sides.
So instead of moving forward, they went down into the ground. And that decision changed warfare forever. The battlefield was never the same again. This episode is not about kings or generals. It is about ordinary men. Men trapped in the darkest place on earth, the trenches. Trenches were long, deep cuts in the earth. They stretched across the battlefield.
They stretched from the North Sea all the way to Switzerland.
There were three main trenches: front line, support, and reserve. Between enemy trenches lay a deadly space. They called it no man's land. A land of broken bodies, barbed wire, and constant death. Crossing it meant almost certain death. Life in the trenches was beyond imagination. Soldiers slept in mud. Rain flooded the trenches. Cold froze their bones. Rats the size of cats fed on dead bodies. Lice crawled on skin day and night. The smell of rot, of sweat, of death never left. Men lived surrounded by corpses.
And yet they survived. They joked and wrote letters home.
Because laughter was the only way to stay human. The worst part was not fighting. The worst part was waiting.
Waiting for the whistle. Waiting for shells.
Silence could last for hours. Then suddenly, artillery exploded like thunder. Shells screamed through the air. Men prayed and cried in fear. Many soldiers broke without firing a single shot. This was the birth of shell shock. When the whistle blew, soldiers climbed out of the trenches. This moment was called going over the top. Men ran into no man's land as machine guns opened fire. Thousands fell within seconds. Courage did not matter. Skill did not matter. Luck was everything. Some survived by miracle. Most did not. The ground drank blood. The battlefield remembered every step. In the trenches, nationality disappeared. Suffering made all men the same. They shared hunger. They shared fear. For one night, the guns fell silent. Humanity defeated war. The silence did not last. War returned with the morning. Behind the lines, heroes fought without guns. Many saved lives. Many died trying to save others. Their courage went unnoticed. Some survived the wounds, but their minds never recovered. They were called cowards, but war had broken them. By 1915, there was no quick end, only endless suffering. Millions waited in the trenches, hoping to survive another day. And the worst was still to come. War was only beginning to change. The war would become industrial slaughter. This was World War I. This was World War I. This was War Unfiltered. War found a new weapon. The air itself became deadly. Men panicked. There was nowhere to run. They adapted to survive. Even air was no longer safe. Machine guns never slept. They ruled the battlefield. Artillery reshaped the earth. Men became smaller than the war.
There was no escape. War had become a machine. This was no longer a battle. It was destruction on an industrial scale. A new monster rolled onto the battlefield. Steel began to replace flesh. Men froze in disbelief. The battlefield was changing again.
Trenches could no longer hold the line. The war began to move again.
For the first time, the end seemed possible. The war was finally changing direction. Those who survived were changed forever. Silence replaced the guns. The war ended. Its scars did not. Life in the trenches was beyond imagination. Every day began the same way.
Mud was everywhere. It swallowed men alive.
Rain flooded the trenches. There was no escape from it. Cold froze their bones. Night made everything worse. Rats ruled the trenches. They were everywhere. Lice never left their skin. There was no rest. The smell never faded. Rot filled the air. Men lived beside death, and still they endured. They shared what little they had. Hunger was constant. Letters kept them alive. Hope came in ink. They laughed to survive. Waiting was torture. Time refused to move. The whistle meant one thing. Death waited.
They climbed into fire. There was no return.
Machine guns never slept. Men fell in seconds. No man's land waited. Few crossed it alive. The earth swallowed everything, even courage. The wounded called out. Many were never reached. Medics moved through hell, saving lives under fire. They never stopped working, even as war raged on. They worked in darkness, life balanced on seconds. Not all wounds were seen. Some shattered the mind. They were called cowards, but war had broken them. Punishment came quietly. War showed no mercy. The lines never ended. Neither did the war. Waiting destroyed them, slowly. Some eyes never looked away. They had seen everything. Orders came through fog. Men obeyed. Nights felt endless. Darkness watched them. Morning came. Peace did not. Another day began. The war continued. Days blended together. Survival became routine. Mud swallowed everything, even their strength. Cold reached the bones. There was no escape. Rats ruled the trenches. The living learned to ignore them. Lice never slept. Neither did the men. Exhaustion crushed them. Rest was a memory. Sleep came in seconds. Danger never left. Rain never stopped. Neither did the suffering. After the storm came silence. It never meant safety. They listened for shells. Death announced itself. The first shell landed. Hell followed. Shells fell without warning. Fear took control. The earth itself shook. Nowhere felt safe. Bullets ruled the battlefield. Men could only hide. The blast passed. The silence was worse.
Men searched for survivors. Most found none.
Survival had a price. Some paid with their minds. Most days were not battles, they were waiting. Night brought no peace, only darker fear. The whistle cut the air. There was no turning back. They climbed into open fire. Luck decided everything. Men fell in seconds. The ground drank blood. The wounded could not retreat. Help rarely came. Night covered the dead. The battle moved on. The fighting ended. The losses remained. Names became numbers. Silence replaced cheers. Morning arrived quietly. The war did not. New orders arrived. Nothing changed. Weapons were checked. The cycle repeated. Weeks blurred together. Exhaustion became normal. Letters brought distant hope. Reality stayed close. Food was scarce. Brotherhood was not. Laughter was rare, but it kept them human. Rain flooded everything. Misery had no pause. Rats owned the trenches. The living shared space with death. Sleep never came easily. Even rest was a battle. Each morning began the same, with fear. Every shadow felt alive. Death could move any time. Silence never lasted. War always returned. The wounded slowed everything, but they were never left behind. Medics worked without rest. Every second mattered. Darkness hid their movement, but danger followed them. There was no time for mercy, only skill and speed. They worked through endless nights. Exhaustion never stopped them. Life hung by a thread. Death waited nearby. Not all wounds were visible. Some lived inside the mind. The mind broke before the body. War left invisible scars. He rode home, knowing he might never return. Some words were never read. Every step could be the last. Silence was louder than gunfire. Light exposed what darkness hid. Fear had nowhere to hide. Breath became the enemy. Seconds decided survival. Faces disappeared behind rubber and fear. Only survival moved them forward. No farewell was spoken. War ended lives without warning. The whistle erased hesitation. Fear ran forward with them. They left the trench behind. No one knew who would return. Steel spoke faster than courage. The ground swallowed the brave. Even broken, he moved ahead. Stopping meant death. He stared into nothing. The war had already taken his soul. Night offered no safety. Death rained from the sky. A helmet without a head. Another life erased. He rode home one last time. He never knew it was goodbye. One sound changed everything. The attack had begun. They climbed toward gunfire. There was no turning back. They ran into open death. Hope was left behind. The gun did not choose. It simply erased. He fell without a sound. The war kept moving. The noise slowly died. The silence was worse.
They looked for survivors. Mostly, they found the dead. A hand reached out. Help was far away. Someone refused to let him die. Courage wore no rank.
There was no time for pain, only time to survive. He had seen too much. Still, he kept going.
Saving one life risked many. They carried on anyway. Choices were made in seconds. Not everyone would live. His breathing slowed. Then it stopped. No words were spoken. Respect said everything. No name was written. Still, he was remembered. The battle ended. The war did not. Names were called. Some answers never came. Someone would never return. His place remained. They wrote to stay human. Words were all they had. Sleep was a luxury. Fear never rested. Morning came again. So did the war. War became routine. Misery became normal. No one spoke. Everyone understood. They shared what little they had. Brotherhood kept them alive. The enemy sounded human, just like them. For a moment, they forgot the war. Then reality returned. The sound returned. So did the fear. Everyone felt it. Not everyone would survive.
His hands shook, but he did not let go.
Seconds felt like hours. The signal had not come. They said nothing. Everything was understood. The waiting ended. The run for life began. Bullets tore the air apart. Every step could be the last. Men fell on every side. The ground filled with silence. Even wounded, he moved. Stopping meant death. The wire blocked the path. Fear did not stop him. Steel fought back. So did he. A narrow opening appeared. Survival rushed through it. The enemy line appeared. There was no stopping now.
They dropped into chaos. The fight turned personal.
There was no room to run, only room to fight. Weapons were useless here. Survival depended on strength. The fighting stopped. The cost remained. The enemy looked the same. War had chosen the sides. Silence followed the blast. Only memories remained. He stood despite the pain. The war was not over. They moved forward in silence. Fear walked beside them. A brother fell. The mission did not stop. They moved forward. Fear stayed behind. They hit the ground. Instinct took control. They fired back. Fear turned into focus. The blast shook everything. Time felt frozen. Smoke filled the air. They moved without hesitation. One held the line. The other pushed forward. Shots missed by inches. Luck was running thin. A single signal stopped them. Silence spoke louder than gunfire. They stacked at the door. The moment had come. Light flooded the room. Everything moved at once. Every corner mattered. One mistake could end it all.
Something moved. Reflexes answered first.
They paused instantly.
Breathing was the only sound. The threat was nothing, but the tension stayed. No shots were fired. Only eyes watched the darkness. The war was quiet here, but somewhere it was screaming. Minutes felt like hours. No one dared to move. Every breath was counted. Every sound meant danger. The wire moved. He tightened his grip. It was only a shadow, but hearts kept racing. Silence returned, but no one relaxed. The watch changed. The fear stayed the same. The night slowly faded. The war did not. Morning arrived without mercy. Duty began again. Sleep never lasted. War never allowed it. One flash changed everything. Instinct took control. Time slowed to nothing. Everyone waited. No words were spoken. Everyone understood it. Nothing moved ahead, but everyone was ready. They stood closer now. Fear made them one. One step could decide fate. Everyone felt it. No order came, so they held the line. Time lost its meaning. Only waiting remained. Daylight finally arrived, but nothing truly changed. Routine replaced panic, but danger stayed close. No words were needed. They understood each other. The line still held. So did the men. Fear was still there, but resolve was stronger. The day moved forward. Their duty never ended. They watched the horizon, waiting for what might come. Nothing happened, and that was the danger.
A small signal was given. Everyone became alert again.
The calm broke quietly. Everyone prepared once more. No one looked away. Survival demanded attention. Something moved far away. No one knew what it meant. Nerves were stretched thin. Discipline kept them steady. They did not advance. They did not retreat. The watch continued. There was no relief. No enemy was visible, yet danger felt close. The air felt heavier. Every second pressed down. Nothing had changed, so they stayed ready. Patience was wearing thin, but discipline held. A nod said enough. They remained ready. Hours passed in silence. Duty refused to fade. Bodies grew tired. Duty did not. He did not move, because the line must hold. The shadows grew longer. The watch continued. The distance looked peaceful. The trench knew better. They breathed in silence. Waiting never truly ended. Daylight slowly faded. The watch did not. Night began to return, and with it, the unknown. Darkness closed around them. Every sense sharpened. The night watch began again. Nothing was forgiven by darkness. A sound broke the silence. Everyone listened. Eyes searched the darkness. Nothing revealed itself. The sound faded. The tension did not. No danger appeared, but no one trusted the night. The night held its breath. So did they. One step broke the silence. There was no turning back. The shadows moved before the men did. Danger waited in the fog. Silence grew heavier with every breath. Something unseen was getting closer. The shadows moved before the man did. Fear followed silently behind him.
Every step echoed like a decision. There was no turning back now. The war didn't end with the battle. It followed them into the silence. Every step forward costs something, but stopping costs even more. Chaos doesn't scream. It waits, then strikes. Fear lives in every breath. So does courage. When everything falls apart, the will to stand remains. The war ends here, but the story lives on. This story ends here, but War Unfiltered continues.